topic, cause that ain't gonna stop it. Now, talk about sex on the radio and video show. Many will know anything goes. Let's tell it like it is and how it could be. How it was and, of course, how it should be. Those who think it's dirty have a choice. Pick up the needle, press pause, or turn the radio off. Will that stop us yet? I doubt it. Alright then, come on, spin. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex.
Hey, 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 happy Saturday out there. Happy Saturday out there. This is your girl, Trell. Hey. Wives Who Win coach. Here to help position my wives to win in their marriage against all odds. I am happy to be here, happy to be amongst you all, and happy to be talking about sex. Hey. Yes, in the right context. No pun intended. So I'm waiting for some folks to get on here. I believe some folks are coming on. So we're going to just give it just a second. As you heard, I was playing Salt-N-Pepa's song, Let's Talk About Sex, Baby. And when they were giving awareness to sex and things of that nature. I can't remember when that song came out some time ago. So I thought it would be fitting because we're going to talk about sex today. But we're talking about it in the confines of marriage, right? Talking about it in the confines of marriage. So I wanted to get you all on today. I actually had a question. I'm trying to invite some people here. I had a question about sex in marriage. And basically the question was, when is it too much in a marriage? When does it go from, me pleasing my husband per se to it being something in the perverted realm, or where it's ungodly or immoral more so. So that was the question that I was confronted with. And I said, well, let me do a chat, right? This is a wife chat, so let me do a chat. And I know that many wives, many relationships, marital relationships, struggle with sex, too much or the lack thereof. So I wanted to come on today and just have this conversation with you all, because I know that that's something that couples struggle with for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason. So I'm going to give it just a second here while I'm trying to invite some folks on. Please go ahead and share. With anybody needs to be on this live video today. Welcome. Hello out there. I don't know who just joined, but somebody did. Welcome. So I'm hoping you guys can go back and listen to the replay. I know it's a busy day, and at 4 o'clock, a lot of people are doing a lot of things around, around this time. So I get that, and that's totally okay. So I'm hoping that you can go back and look at the replay when you get an opportunity to do so. And I'm just sharing here on my various platforms. And what I'm going to do, I actually have a scripture that I want to come from, because we want to talk about sex and marriage. And, when the Bible tells us to abstain, right, from sexual immorality, it's for a specific reason. It's not because God does not want us to have fun. It's not because he's trying to take our life away, or our fun away, or youth away, or pleasure away, but it's for a specific reason why he says stay away from sexual immorality. Stay away from sexual immorality. Let me get my Bible up here, because there's some things that happen in that realm. There's some exchanges that happen in that realm. So when you're connecting with somebody sexually, right, there's some things that are going on in that realm. There are some attachments that occur in that realm. So that is why he says to marry the person, the man, the woman of your youth, meaning marry that, be with that one person pretty much all of your life, because there's some things that happen in that realm. There's some soul ties, there's some attachments, there's some spirits, there's a lot of things that happen in that exchange. So if anybody has their Bible, go with me please to 1 Corinthians 7. I'm going to read from verse 1. So the question was, is there such a thing as too much sex in marriage? When it gets to a point where it's, overkill, right? So 1 Corinthians 7 says, and now in response to the matters you wrote about, it is good for a man not to have relations with a woman. And this is Paul talking to the church of Corinth. It's good for a man not to have relations with a woman, right? So Paul was saying, look, it's better for you to serve God. So if you're single, it's better for you to serve God. And it's better for you not to even get caught up with all of that. And especially getting caught up with sex, because it's going to open up a whole new can of worms, right? So if you're going to serve God, serve God. But, he said, but, verse 2, but because sexual immorality, matter of fact, you know, I wanted to read this out of the, let me get this out of the Message Bible. They call it the ghetto version. Let me get this out of the Message Bible. Let's read this in the Message. That's what I want to do. Let's read it in the Message Bible. Give me a second. And if you have not already, please go ahead and share. Okay. So this is what it says here. To be married, to be single. That's what it's titled in the Message Bible. To be married or to be single. Now, getting down to the questions you ask in your letter to me. First, it is a good thing to have sexual. Is it a good thing to have sexual relations? So he was answering the question. Is there a good thing to have sexual relations, right? Certainly, but only within a certain context. So sex is not a bad thing at all. It is not. But God made it for marriage, right? Sex was established for the marriage covenant, okay? It's good for a man to have a wife and for a woman to have a husband. So it's good in that regard. It's good for a man to have a wife. It's good for a wife to have a husband. Sexual drives are strong. Listen, God gave us that. He gave us that drive. He gave us that feeling. He gave us that the ability and the desire to have sex. He placed it inside of us. And those drives are strong. But marriage is strong enough to contain them and provide for a balanced and fulfilling sexual life in a world of sexual disorder. So what Paul is saying is, look, if you're going to have sex, have it in the confines of marriage. And that marriage alone should be enough for you to abstain from, or for you to be, driven away to wanting to do it the worldly way, or wanting to be in the world and doing what they are doing, right? In the marriage covenant, that should be enough. He said that marriage is strong enough to contain them and provide for a balanced and fulfilling sexual life. So your husband should be able to fulfill you. Your wife, if you're a guy on here, your wife should be able to fulfill you, because marriage is one of the ways, right? Well, the only way, right? In which sex should be demonstrated. Okay. So the marriage bed must be a place of mutuality. What does that mean? That means that we have to come to an agreement, right? There should be an agreement. The husband seeking to satisfy his wife and the wife seeking to satisfy her husband. That's what the marriage bed is all about. I'm looking to satisfy my husband and he's looking to satisfy me. It's not necessarily about I'm looking to satisfy myself or he's looking to satisfy himself. We are coming together, connecting with one another to satisfy, to give pleasure to the other person. Marriage is not a place to stand up for your rights. Marriage is a decision to serve the other person. So it's not about me in that moment per se, right? But it's about me serving my husband, serving the person that I chose to marry, serving the person that I chose to spend the rest of my life with. So that's what that's about. Okay? Marriage is a decision to serve each other, whether in bed or out. So even in other areas, marriage is about serving one another. Abstaining from sex is permissible for a period of time if both of you agree, because we just read that the marriage bed must be a place of mutuality. Can't get it out. We just read that the marriage bed should be a place of mutuality. That means we come into agreement. We're pleasing one another. We're serving one another in that moment, right? So abstaining from it. So if I'm saying I'm going to abstain from it, I have to, in layman's terms, get my husband's permission or make sure that he is okay of me not wanting to have sex for a period of time. Are y'all getting this? Y'all out there? I don't see any comments. Let me see. Are you out there? Right? So I need to go to my husband out of respect, and because now I'm serving him to say, honey, I'm going on, the Lord has directed me to go on a fast. The Lord has directed me to go on a sabbatical. The Lord has whatever, and I just want to make sure it's okay with you, because during this period, I am not able to serve you sexually. Right? Because I'm going on a sabbatical in a couple of weeks here. So I already told my husband this week, like, honey, I'm going to go outside. I need to go outside of the house. So I'm getting a hotel, and God has directed me to just get away and do some things, right? So, and for my single woman, well, that's good. Do these things while you're single. And not that when you get married, you can't. But that's all the more reason. Do these things while you're single. Hey, Bonnie. Do these things while you're single. And then when you get married, make sure you have a mate. That's why you need to be equally yoked and things of that nature that will understand you sleeping out of your house for 2 to 3 days because you're going on a sabbatical. The Lord has directed you to do whatever, and you don't always have to leave your house. But in my case, this is what the Lord has instructed me to do. I have to be in total solitude, right? Okay. So abstaining from sex is permissible for a period of time if both of you agree to it. And it's for the purposes of prayer and fasting. Not just because I don't want to give you none because I'm mad, or I don't want to give you none because you always want it, or I don't want to give you that. No, for praying and fasting. But only for such a time, then come back together again. Satan has an ingenious way of tempting us when we least expect it. So don't give him room, right? Give him no place to the devil. Resist him and he will flee. Resist him, submit to God, and he will flee from you. I'm not understand commanding these periods of abstinence. So Paul is like, look, I'm not commanding these periods of abstinence. Like, this is not something you have to do. That's what Paul is saying. He's saying this is not something I'm telling you to do. I'm not commanding you. I'm not demanding you. Hey, sis, but I'm going to call you when I get off here. But if you are going to abstain, make sure that hubby's okay with it. Make sure that wifey's okay with it, right? He's only providing his best counsel if you should choose them. So Paul's like, look, and I'm telling you, look, I'm not telling you to not give your husband none. But if you feel like the Lord is telling you to go on a fast and pray and go in total, complete solitude, isolation, and not have sex, or even go on a fast from sex, because you may, you and your husband may be very sexually, engaged, then y'all have that conversation. Sometimes I wish everyone was single. This is Paul talking. Paul is a trip, you guys. He says, sometimes he wish everyone were single. A simpler life in many ways. And he is so true. He didn't say a better life, right? He didn't say a better life, but he said simpler, more simple. But celibacy is not for everyone any more than marriage is, because if you are single, my single woman that are on here, and you're not desiring to get married, then you are supposed to be celibate. And it's more, he says, more simpler, and it's different. But celibacy, but it's not for everyone. And he understands that. God gives the gift of the single life to some, the gift of the married life to others. So some people can do single, some people can do married. I do, though, tell the unmarried and widows that singleness might well be the best thing for them as it has been for me, Paul. So that would make me guess that Paul was either married at one time and his wife may have passed, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Nobody really knows if he was married or not. We just know that at this point he was not with a wife. He's saying, because he's saying, I do though tell the unmarried and the widows that singleness might be for the best thing for them as it was for me. But if they can't manage their desires and emotions, meaning marry the person of your youth, then should by all means go ahead and get married. That does not mean that anybody that you're attracted to, anybody you have chemistry with, you just go and have, go and marry so you can have sex with. That's not what Paul is saying right here. That's saying if you and somebody are engaged and you guys are dating, and you know that you desire to get married with this person and this is your future, blah, 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 then you guys should go ahead and get married. But this is not saying go find a husband or go find a wife because your heart and draws, right? So you can have sex. That's not what he's saying. The difficulties of marriage are preferable by far to a sexually tortured life as a single, right? And if you are married, stay married. From my wives out there, if you are married, he says stay married. Verses 10 through 11. This is the master's command, not mine. If a wife should leave her husband, she must either remain single or else come back and make things right with him. And a husband has no right to get rid of his wife. For the rest of you who are in mixed marriages, Christian marries to non-Christians, we have no explicit command from the master. So this is what you must do. If you are a man with a wife who is not a believer but still wants to live with you, so if your husband is not a believer, draws, right? And if your wife is not a believer husband, he said, but if that wife decides to live with you and she decides to stay there, he decides to live there and stay there, hold on to her, hold on to him. If you are a woman with a husband who is not a believer but he wants to live there, hold on to him. The unbelieving husband shares to an extent in the holiness of his wife, and the unbelieving wife is likewise touched by the holiness of her husband. Otherwise, your children will be left out. As it is, they also are included in the spiritual purposes of God. So that goes on and on and on. So my wives, go ahead and read, at your leisure, read and study 1 Corinthians 13. Paul's talking about relationships, marriages, singles. Also, there's some things in there for you as well. So now getting down to the nitty gritty. Getting down to the nitty gritty. Sex is not wrong. Sex is not bad. God gave you the desire to want it, to go after it in the confines of your marriage. In the confines of your marriage covenant. But because so many things have been distorted, because many of us have had sexual relations outside of the marriage, prior to the marriage, because many of us have connected and fornicated and lived a sinful, lustful world lifestyle for so long, it has been perverted. Y'all get what I'm saying? It has been perverted. And now you get into a situation with your husband, and you've already given yourself to whomever, and not knocking anybody or throwing any stones. I'm just speaking in general. You've given yourself to whomever, right? So you've lived out of the order of God for so long. You've lived outside of the order of God for so long because all of us, well, unless you were a virgin before you got married, that doesn't apply to you. So for those of us that were not virgins before we got married, I'm not talking 2.0 virgins. I'm talking about never had sex. Including oral. So many of us have had sexual relations with different men prior to getting married. We've connected ourselves to these men. We've allowed an exchange to take place. We've allowed a releasing to take place, right? So when this exchange and release takes place, then we are attaching ourselves to the person's soul. Hey, Tiffany. We're attaching ourselves to the person's soul. Hey, Monica. So we are triune beings, right? We're soul. And our soul consists of our mind, our emotions, and our will. Our soul consists of our mind, our emotions, and our will. So when you're soul tying with someone, you're connecting with their mind, their emotions, and their will. Come on, somebody. When you're soul tying with someone, you're connecting to their mind, their emotions, and their will. Case in point. Have you ever been in a dating relationship with somebody and you started to think like them? You started to feel like them. You started to do things that they were doing, and you had no idea. Soul tying. There's a connection. There is something going on in a realm. In a spirit, is a spiritual realm, right? So then you get married. You meet Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, right? And although, we go through our redemption process, we go through our restoration process, we go through our healing process, and we ask God to cleanse us and to wash us and to make us whole again and things of that nature. And I believe that God does that. But a lot of times it's because of our own guilt. A lot of times it's because of our own shame. It's because of our own embarrassment. It's because of our own past sometimes it interferes with the marriage relationship. Y'all get what I'm saying? That's why it's a constant working. So then you get in a relationship with Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, and now you're confronted with having a sexual encounter. And yeah, you may enjoy it, it may be great, but then it's like a sexual encounter often, and he may have a high sex drive or you may have a low or vice versa. And then you feel awkward. Not saying it's the case for everybody, but this can be the case for some people. This was the case for me, right? So then it feels perverted. Then it feels, and I'm giving y'all some juice from my book, Wives Who Win, because I wrote a chapter on this. I wrote Sex is Overrated, because I feel like, once I get in marriage, I can have sex legally, spiritually legal now to have sex. But that's not always, even though that's the truth, no attachments to the world and things of that nature. But if something within you, if there's something still within you that feel like you're attached to things outside of your marriage, right? If there's something in you that's still making you feel guilty and making you feel shame and making you feel embarrassed, you will look at sex as a bad thing or as a wrong thing because your mind has been convoluted. Your mind has been perverted because you were living in a perverted state for so very long. So that's why, going back to why God wants us to abstain, and Paul is telling you to abstain, and he's telling you to not do this and to not do that, because he knows what all comes with that. So why your husband wants to engage with you sexually, because let me tell you why men normally don't deal with it to the point that we deal with it, because we are receivers. We are receivers. So they're releasing within us. We're not releasing in them. We are the receivers. Let me read Soul Ties. Let me read something on Soul Ties. Ephesians 5:31. Godly soul ties are formed when a couple are married. So godly soul ties. For this cause shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And the godly soul tie between a husband and the wife that God intended him to have is unbreakable by man. However, when a person has ungodly sexual relations with another person, an ungodly soul tie is formed, according to 1 Corinthians 6:6. What? Know ye not that he which is joined to an harlot is one body? For two, saith he, shall be one flesh. The soul tie fragments the soul and is destructive. People who have many past relationships find it very difficult to bond or to be joined to anybody because their soul is fragmented. Did y'all get that? So then, my point, getting back to that marriage covenant, and when you are married to your Mr. Right, are married to your Mr. Wrong, because of those past relationships, they can then affect that future relationship, even if it's godly. Even if it's godly, because when you were in the world, me included, whenever he wanted it, we gave it to him, right? Come on, don't leave me out here by myself. Whenever he wanted, we gave it to him. So we continue to give pieces of ourselves to somebody that never belonged to us. We continue to give pieces of our mind, pieces of our emotions, pieces of our will to somebody who didn't belong to us. So now pieces of ourselves are missing. We're fragmented. Girl, we're fragmented. So even when we get with the husband, we're fragmented. So he doesn't understand, no, I don't want to have sex. No, I don't feel like having sex, because we're dealing with our own internal energy. It has nothing, for the most part, to do with him. We're dealing with our own internal energy. And you can try to put it to the side. And if you are a lustful person or having a lustful person, yeah, that spirit of lust, but and then that spirit of lust at that point is not even in the right place. Because now those are just those spirits and those things that you dealt with prior to marriage rising up, and it goes from an ungodly thing to a godly thing to an ungodly thing. And even in a marriage, you can experience sexual immorality if you're dealing solely in the place of lust, because sex in a marriage is so much more than you having a lustful encounter with your partner. It's a ministry, it's a connection, it's a bond. You go to a place of ecstasy, you go to a place of escape with that person. So it's way more than you jumping bones, getting knocked off, and then that's done with it. It's so much that goes into that. Sex with your husband, you're soul tying. So again, your mind, your emotions, your will, all of you have to get into it. All of you have to be in tune with that person. So you know how people that say, don't have sex before you get married. How am I supposed to know how it feels? How am I supposed to, I got to test drive and blah. No, you don't. Because when you get married in the confines of God, and God has brought you two together, he's going to make sure that whatever needs to be there is there, because you're coming together on a deeper level and a deeper connection, and so much more than you jumping the bones. It's so much more than that. It is so much more than that. Sex is a ministry. Sex with your husband is a ministry. The marriage is the ministry, and sex is one of the benefits that you get to have within that ministry. That's why he says the bed is holy. The bed is a mutual understanding with you and your husband when you are inside of the bedroom. There's a mutuality agreement. It's a contractual agreement that takes place. I am here to serve you. You are here to serve me. I am here to please you. You are here to please me. That's what I'm here for. That is what I am here for. But because there's so much perversion that's still in our mind, that's why the Bible says that you have to constantly renew your mind. Renewing of the mind, constantly renewing your mind, constantly renewing your mind, constantly renewing your mind over and over and over and over and over again. Because as light as we take it, and how saved we feel that we are, and how awesome and wonderful and loving God as we think we are, speaking in tongues and running around the church or whatever it is that you do, that I do, as light as we take it, it's a constant renewing of the mind. It's a constant, God, creating me a clean heart, renew a right spirit within me, God. Lord, fill me with you and release everything not of me. So, and that's why single woman, and also married, because if you're already married, you're already married. That's why it's so important for you to make sure that the healing process has taken place before you get into another relationship, before you get married. You can't just jump from having sex with John 3 weeks ago, and although John may have been a booty partner, you can't go from having sex with John 3 weeks ago, and now Paul comes back into your life that you used to date 2 years ago, and now Paul says he's been your husband and you've always had a crush on Paul, and now you and Paul get married 2 months later. You can't do that, because there were so many exchanges that went on with you and John. So before you get married to Paul, there has to be a detox. There has to be a flushing. There has to be a removing. There has to be a renewing. There has to be a releasing. There have to be an extraction that takes place. Some things need to be eradicated and removed from you as far as the east is from the west. So you won't desire John no more. You want John to flip it up and rub it down and turn you over, and you won't want Paul to flip you up and rub you down and all that how John used to do. So you won't be looking at husband Paul now and thinking about John in your mind. You won't be in the bed with Paul now, but you thinking about how John used to I almost said very provocative just now. Whatever John used to do, you won't be thinking about that with Paul. How he used to lick you, stick you, whatever. You won't be thinking about that with Paul, because John would be flushed out of your system. Come on, somebody. Come on, let's keep it real. Let's keep it all the way real. So once you've gone through the cleansing process, and it's a constant cleansing, it's a constant renewing of the mind, it's a constant, and if you are in a place and you are married and you have thoughts of other men, and it's not like you want to be with the other man, but again, soul ties. So if you're thinking like, man, I want my husband, like, oh, I remember when such and such used to do this to me. I remember such and such used to eat me out. Whatever it was. Whatever it was for you. And now you want your husband to do that. That's a no-no. You got to get that stuff out of you. You got to get that stuff out of you, because you and your husband will never have a satisfying, fulfilling sexual relationship. Because you'll always be thinking about John. You'll always be thinking about Ted. You'll always be thinking about Mike. You'll always be thinking about Trevor or whoever. So it's a cleansing. And a lot of things you did with those guys, they were immoral with everything, because it was fornication. Even if he was your boyfriend. So everything you did with him was immoral. Everything you did with him was all lust. It was all lust. So that was not a good space that you were in. So when you get in your marriage relationship, you can then fulfill your husband. A few scriptures here, and you guys can jot these down. Hebrews 13 and 14. Going back, is sex wrong? Is sex bad? You know, why does he want it so much and I don't want it so much? Or vice versa. And typically it's the girl that wants less and the guy wants more. In a lot of cases, in some cases, it's the opposite. It's the opposite, right? Hebrews 13 and 14 talks about the marriage being held in honor among all. The bed is holy and undefiled. 1 Corinthians 7 and 5 talks about don't deprive one another. 1 Corinthians 7 and 3 say God gave us conjugal rights with our husbands. Proverbs 5, 15 through 19 talks about satisfying and longing each other only. Satisfy and long for each other only. Drink water from your own cistern. Drink water from your own cistern, from your own well, right? Right? So if there's an issue with sex, you got to get to the root of the problem. We talked about many roots just now. We talked about many roots. Sex in a marriage is from way more than recreation. It's not for recreation. It's for procreation and pleasure within the confines of marriage. Procreate, making babies, and pleasing each other. That's what sex in a marriage is all about. That's what sex in a marriage is all about. So some of the issues you may have with, we talked about soul ties already, mismatch drives. Some of the other issues, if you're having problems with sexual relations with your husband, or, you know, you're doing it because, you know, you're supposed to do it, but there's still a certain way that you're feeling. Maybe there's a mismatched drive. Maybe he wants it all the time and you want it some of the time. Or maybe you want it more than he wants it. Or maybe you feel like you're doing it too much, or whatever the case may be. So you may have mismatched drive. Is there too much, or is it too little? Does it come to a place of perversion? That's a decision that you and your husband have to make. But then again, you also want to think about, is it because it's me? Is it because of the soul ties that I still have? Is it because of the connection that I still have with John and Ted that I can't really be with my husband and be satisfied with my husband, because I'm going through some other things right now? I want to be there for Paul, my husband, but I'm just going through some other things right now, right? Sex before marriage, that's one of the issues. Your self-image, your self-esteem may make you feel like you don't want to give your husband your body because you may not be satisfied with your body. So there are things that you can do. Those are things that you can be in control of as far as pleasing your husband. As far as desiring to please your husband, again, a constantly renewing of your mind, a detoxing and releasing may have to take place. And if you have an issue with your self-esteem and how you look, if that means you need to lose weight, gain weight, or whatever the case may be, then you can take matters into your own hand and do what needs to be done as it relates to that in a healthy, legal way, right? Some women are selfish. If you don't feel like it, you just don't do it. That's a no-no, because we just read, well, we didn't read that scripture yet, but there's a scripture that talks about your body belongs to him and his body, that is 1 Corinthians. Your body belongs to him and his body belongs to you. Your body belongs to him and his body belongs to you. Your body belongs to him and his body belongs to you. So at no point, and make sure that's 1 Corinthians, yeah. At no point should you hold back unless for a time or a season that both of you agree on. So, if he wants to have sex every night and you don't, that may be a little bit too much for you. So you need to have a conversation with your husband. But then again, too, you want to make sure that he's not operating out of a place of a lustful spirit. So you may need to do some fasting and praying on his behalf to make sure that he's not dealing with that. Because I was listening to this one guy and he was saying that he wanted it every night from his wife. Like he wanted, and he's a saved guy. He's a marriage counselor, as a matter of fact. But he had to ask God to deal with him because she wasn't in that space, right? So does that make her wrong? I mean, although she didn't deny him per se, but she was like, honey, I can't do this, right? So those are the things you need to talk about. I know people plan sex, and me and my husband have planned nights of sex and nights of intimacy, to be brutally honest with you. But it kind of takes away from the spontaneity of it. And it's really hard when you think about it. Okay, honey, we're going to have sex tomorrow. It's kind of weird. For us, it's weird. But then again, you don't want to deprive each other either. Because for us, we're really busy. And we have a lot going on. Sometimes we would just be like, hey, we're fine. But that's not healthy because we know we need to engage in sex and intimacy. Right? And for you all out there too, that's not healthy to just keep going, doing life and doing everything else. And you're not sleeping with anybody else or desiring anybody else, but you're just too tired to give to your husband what belongs to him and vice versa. You don't want to get to that point. You don't want to get too comfortable saying no. And you don't want to get too comfortable not doing, because in the very least, in any situation, the enemy can come and tempt him or you. Right? Because you may not even know what you're missing or what you're desiring until you get into a vulnerable state, mentally, emotionally, or whatever. So you don't want to get into that place, right? Is it a need? Do you need sex? No. Because a need is something you can't live without and something you will die from. You won't die if you don't have sex. You might be horny for a long time, but it'll die down eventually. But it's not a need. Just like you can go without food longer than you can go without water. Same thing with sex. You can go without it, right? But many of us want it. That's what God desired. That's what God placed in us to do in the confines of marriage. So it's not a need, but we want it, just to be honest with you, right? And the relationship will diminish without it. Make sure I capture everything. The relationship will diminish if deprivation exists. So you never want to totally deprive one another. Why? Because infidelity can take place, distance can take place, and eventually divorce. Because the infidelity and distance is taking place and you're feeling unloved, you're feeling disrespected, you're feeling not wanted, and blah, 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 blah. And then, he may get into a tangle, you may get into a tangle, affairs take place, and all of this other stuff. So then the trust is violated, all this, there's so many things that go on, and then eventually divorce, right? And that's not what we want. That's not what we want. So when you're having sex, I'm going to break down sex and intimacy, and that's going to be all for today. So sex. With sex, submitting to one another, willingly giving yourself to the other person. Submit. Submit. Willingly submitting yourself to the other person. Here I am. You can have all of me. Because again, my body no longer belongs to me. My husband's body no longer belongs to him. So it's not about I don't want to. It's not about I'm tired. It's not about none of that. It's me submitting willingly myself to my husband. And him willingly submitting himself to me. The emotions, the exchange, eros. We talked about eros love in the 14 days of love. 14-day love challenge. Sexual desire or attraction is energy in motion. Through your differences, you can create unity by having a servant's heart. Yes. Come on, girl. You better say it, Kayla. At all. My church doesn't talk about sex. At all. Right? So emotions, you're exchanging. Right? Mind, emotions, or will. You're exchanging with your husband. And then the X is for escape. You're breaking free from confinement or control. My God. You're breaking free from confinement or control. You're not trying to be in control. That feels good, right, wives? You're not trying to take me. You know what I'm saying? It's sex is such an amazing thing in marriage. It's such an amazing thing. So you want to break control, and I spelled it with an X in the Shama just so I can do the acronym, but that's totally how you pronounce it. So I want to escape into my husband. Like I want him to take all of me. I don't want to be thinking about John and Ted and Mike and whoever. I want to be thinking about Henry and Henry only. I want him to take control of my body in that moment, as you should too with your husband, right? So hopefully this conversation will stir some of you up that have been dried up or trying to withhold. Y'all know I'm gonna keep it raw. Or trying to withhold from your husband. Make time for that. Intimacy. Because sex and intimacy are two different things. Intimacy can definitely lead to sex, but it doesn't have to. Intimacy starts before the bedroom. Intimacy starts before the sexual encounter. It starts way before that. It starts about the little things that you're around doing for each other. You know, I'm talking about that. Intimacy. Into me, you see. Into me, you see. Intimacy allows you and your husband to see the deepest parts of one another without even having sex. The deepest parts. You see why God wanted this in the confines of marriage? This is some heavy stuff. You're seeing the deepest parts, the vulnerabilities of that person. The vulnerabilities of that person. Intimacy, in nurturing. That's the cultivating, the developing stage of it. Nurturing. Intimacy, in nurturing. This is intimacy. You're nurturing the relationship. You're cultivating the relationship. You're constantly developing the relationship. You're constantly becoming as one in the relationship. Intimacy. Come on, heart to heart. Yes, Tina, because let me tell you, your hearts are talking to one another. Your hearts are talking to one another. When you're in that place of intimacy, your spirit should be leaping. Touching. And this is physical touching, not sexual touching. Touching. Glory to God. It's so amazing in the confines of marriage. If your husband just rubs his hand across your face, or just touch your breast, or, because I'm talking about a married woman, if he just touch your butt, or just touch your waist, or, just grabs you. Touching. Intimacy. Just him putting his arms around you while you guys are watching TV. Just him, you sitting at the dinner table and him just giving you a kiss, or just kissing you on the neck, or kissing you on the forehead, or kissing your chin, or kissing your nose, or, You see why God had this in the confines of marriage? This is heavy. Intimacy. The eye, intertwine. You're interlocking with one another. You're interlocking with one another. You're understanding one another. You're having compassion for one another. You're extending grace to one another. You're intertwining. You're intertwining yourself into his world. He's intertwining himself into your world. You're interlocking. So even intimacy, interlocking, when you're holding hands and you're locking your fingers. It's about intimacy. You're locking. You're sitting down on the couch and I don't know if you guys are like me, like to put your legs on his legs, kind of just interlocking with one another. The M, memorable. You're creating memories. You're making impressions, Tina, on his heart by what you're doing, by what you're saying, even affirming him of who he is. Even affirming him, even demonstrating respect unto him, even demonstrating love unto him. You're making impressions on his heart. That's memories. You're making impressions. The A, affirming. Affirming by way of what you say and by way of what you do. By what you say and by what you do. Letting him know that he is appreciated. Letting him know that you are so thankful for him. Letting him know how much you respect him, not just by what you say, but by what you do. The C, connection. Bonding. That connecting. This is the connecting on a whole different level. That connecting, that bond that you're establishing with him. That unbreakable bond that you're establishing with him. That connection that nobody can come in between. That is like that energy that nobody can come in between. Not the children, not his mama, your mama, daddy, brother, sister, nobody. Nobody can break that connection. That's what intimacy is. And then the why, it's yearning. Yes, indeed. Yearning. You're desiring to be around each other more and more and more. So if you're in a place now and you don't desire to be around your husband, you just have this issue, problem, whatever the case may be, I encourage you to be intimate with him. Be intimate with him. Come on. When he comes home, you should be happy. Your spirit should leap. You should be excited. When you hear his voice, your spirit should leap. You should be excited. When somebody says his name and they talking about you, you talking about my man? Hey. I show my husband off. Even today I'm doing a briefing. I'm like, this is my man. Hey, that's my boo. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what arguments, regardless of what friction, man, those things happen. Those things happen in his life. I still love the heck out of him. And I love the hell out of him if I need to. The hell out of him. You understand what I'm saying? That's my boo. That's my boo. Like, that's my, that's my dog. That's my ride or die. That's my whatever. I don't want to say my everything because he's not my everything, right? So, the intimacy part, come on, he's not a piece of meat. I show mine off. The intimacy part is so important. It's even more important than the sex, because the intimacy, again, that starts before you get in the bedroom. Because if you're doing all of these things, if you are allowing him to see the deepest parts of you and you him, if you're nurturing, cultivating, fostering that relationship, right? If you're touching in physical touches, if you're interfacing, interlocking, intertwining, if you're creating memorable moments with one another, if you're affirming him and he's affirming you, and you're connecting and you're yearning for one another, when y'all get to that bedroom, what? I'm trying to tell you. When y'all get to that bedroom, you have no problem submitting. My God. You have no problem submitting. You have no problem with that energy doing what it needs to do. You have no problem escaping and allowing him to take complete control. Hello, somebody, of you. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I gotta call my husband. Listen. So, if it's a question, if it's too much, no. But you and him, come on. Bam. Hey, Ariana. So it's a decision, an agreement that you have to come up with of what is too much for your relationship. But don't ever let it be because of Jack, John, and whoever is holding you back. Don't let it be because I'm too tired. I don't have time. You know what I'm saying? If you want to create a happy balance, because it's not all about sex, but that's one of the greatest benefits. You know what I'm saying? Hey, cuz, yay! Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming on. It's one of the great benefits within a marriage covenant. So see what works for you and your husband, or you and your wife, because my cousin has a wife. See what works for you two, and have a balance. Sometimes there might just be intimacy. There might be touching. There might just be kissing. There might be just foreplay. Sometimes that's that. You don't always have to, go into the sexual part. But then sometimes you do. Right? Sometimes you do. So see what works for you. That's all I have for y'all today. So I pray that this has blessed you. I pray that if there was an issue with anybody, come on, you better communicate. I pray if anybody had any issues in that department, then this has opened up something for you. And now you're more open to your husband, figuratively speaking, and literally speaking. Thanks to Shama, thanks Tracy, thanks Tina. Figuratively speaking and literally speaking, I hope you're more open up to your husband. of creating those moments and experiences with him. I'm a clown, you guys. If you haven't seen that side of me, I'm a clown, hugely. So yeah, give him some. And be okay with it. And maybe that takes some stress off you, alleviate some of the tension and things that you may have going on within your own little self. Because you're releasing and giving him what is so worthy of him. Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate it. You're giving him what's so worthy of him, and he's giving you in the same way. Okay? So yeah, I enjoyed chatting with y'all today. I really did. April 1st, I have like 6 or 7 seats left. April 1st, we're doing a live wife chat. So like how we're doing these on Saturdays, I'm doing an in-person one here April 1st. Thanks, Cheryl, for making. Sorry, Deja. Hey, listen, you better get on that phone. You don't have Skype? I'm just saying, whatever works for you. Because I know my husband was employed. We're going to make it work. So I'm going to have to give. You understand me? So see what works for you too, Neshama. See what works for you too. And, all bets are off. I love you too. All bets are off. You and your husband, do what y'all need to do. Communicate as much as y'all need to communicate. By way of Skype, by way of Facebook Messenger, because that's another means to, just connect with him on the deepest level. Send him whatever. Little notes, whatever you need to do to keep it spice, to keep him wanting and longing and yearning for you. So when he comes, hey, you better be ready. Because you're going to have a lot to release. So you better be ready. I can talk to my wives like this because this is what it's all about. Okay. Where it's in Charleston, Jennifer, Charleston, South Carolina. I only have 7 seats left. I think. It's free, but you have to register. So 7 seats are left. And the event page is, the event is on this page. So if you go to events, you'll be able to see it. It's a live wife chat that we're going to have. And I'm going to have those the first Saturday of every month until December. And if God tells me to go into 2018, do it, and then I'll do it then. But until December, I'm going to have some guest speakers that's going to come in and talk about different things that we wives struggle with, that we deal with, things that may hinder our marriage. Because we're a 100% contributor, just like our husbands. But, I talk to the wives. So I minister to you all. And so we're gonna have a great time. It's not a social hour. It's not a gossiping hour. It's not an emotional dumping hour. But will healing take place? I'm sure. Will transformation take place? I know it will. And it's an opportunity for you to come and share, not you per se, share your personal story, but share the issues that marriages are facing, and us bringing real life solutions. Like, they don't talk about sex in my church. I don't know whoever church else may, but we don't talk about that. We don't talk about give your husband none. Give your husband, a lot of people are withholding and having all kind of other issues, and I'm not hearing nothing. That's not talked about. So I'm going to tell you, give him some, even if you're mad at him. That's the best. You'll be unmad by the time you're done. So anyway, but you won't deal with whatever issue you guys may have. But in the meantime, I don't need for both of you to suffer. That's all I'm saying. I've never believed in that. Oh, don't need for both of you guys to suffer. That's all I'm saying. So be here April 1st. So we'll do that every first Saturday of the month live. And of course, we'll be here on Facebook Live at 12 noon normally. But even if you mad. But okay, Drea. But I came on later today because I had a briefing. And then on next Saturday, it's going to be late too. Unfortunately, because I'm volunteering at a conference all day next Saturday. So I won't be on probably until 6 because I have to be there 6 a.m. in the morning. And I won't be done with that until about 4. So I'll get on after that. And I'm thinking it's going to be closer to 6 because I'll need to wind down and all that stuff. So, if this page has been a blessing to you, please share. It's for wives and wives to be, and anyone that desires to be a wife and desire to win in their marriage. This is who this page is for. So if it has been a blessing to you, share. You can just invite people right from the page. You can share it on your page if you don't mind. Share this live video if you don't mind. Listen, I come to you and I'm as transparent as I can be, and I speak to you from my own experiences, especially in addition with what God has given me through the Word of God and through things that I've studied and looked up and researched as it relates to various topics, so I can help you. Because I want us to win. Who got this shirt? I want us to win together. Hey. You know, I want us to win together. We are a force. We can be so much better together, and we can lean and glean off each other. Again, I don't need you to tell me my business. I'll tell you mine. You know, whatever God releases me to tell you. But I don't need you to tell me your business, because God is going to reveal to me what needs to be revealed so that I can share. So you don't got to call me and tell me anything. I'm not asking you to do that. Now, if you want one-on-one coaching or something, that's a different story. And, we'll be doing one-on-one laser coaching at the events. So one-on-one laser coaching will take place toward the end of that. So, you know, that's not what I'm asking you to do. But I'm praying that you get blessed. And if there's a subject matter that you want me to talk about or share, then let me know that by sharing it on you can inbox me or email me at officialwiveswhowin@gmail.com, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. We'll have a conversation about that, because I'm here to put you in check from wife to wife. Because I know a lot of times, a lot of the friction and tension and things that go on in our marriage, we are contributors to that. I'm just saying. So I'm here for you, right? So you can be better, because the better you are, the better he'll be, and the better you be together. The happier you are, the happier he'll be, and the happier you both will be together. So that's my job. That's what God has placed me to do. So, okay. All right. Well, that's my time. I'm supposed to go. Hey, Tawana. Hey, girl. I'm supposed to go to a oyster roast. I'm tired, but I bought my ticket, and I really do want some oysters. And I don't know if you guys know anything about oyster. Let me get off this live. But I do love you all. I do. I love my wives. I love my woman. Because I know we are so much stronger together. And I know that if we join forces together, we can do a lot of damage. And we can dispel all the lies as it relates to marriages. And as it relates to you got to go through and you got to have problems. No, you don't. Yeah, you'll get on the crazy cycle. But you don't have to go through and act. And Tawana, you already know. God! You don't have to go through and have this horrible marriage. And no, I told God, I'm like, look, I want to be happy. So what I got to do? You know what I'm saying? If there's something in me, come on. If there's something in me, if there's something I need to adjust, I'm not waiting for him to change. I'm not waiting, because I can't control him. Thank you, Lord. I can only control me. And if you are married to a person of goodwill, of good character, otherwise than acting like a jerk every now and again, as we all do, right? You will provoke change in him. I promise you that. You will provoke change in him. So I'm not trying to change nobody. I'm just trying to get better. And it's evident in my own marriage. The better I am, the better he is. The better I am, the better he is. And we are better together. Hey. So, okay. All right, y'all. So y'all enjoy y'all Saturday. If you married on here, your husband is home, go give him some. Within the next 24 to 48 hours. Create the level of intimacy. All right, Mother Pearl. Hey, girl. Yeah. I'm sorry, Neshama. I'm sorry. We're not going to talk about sex a lot. My girl's out deployed, so we got to lift Neshama. Her husband's deployed, so we got to lift her up in prayer. That the Lord keeps her and keeps her husband until they are joined back together as one, so they can have some amazing sex and intimacy. All right. Let me get off here. So y'all all have a great, you're welcome. Y'all have a great Saturday. Enjoy. And I'll see you all on Wednesday for Wives Who Win Wednesday, July. That's not long, Neshama. Girl, hey, listen, go buy some, whatever he like, and have all of that ready. And if you have some babysitters, you can call me one-on-one. If you have some babysitters, send them kids away for like 3 or 4 days. I know he may want to see them like the first day, kiss up on them and love them, but see if you can send them away for a couple days in July. I'm just saying. If you were local, I would keep them, but you're not. It's going to be okay. It's going to be so much. Girl, look here. Bye, Neshama. Get off my live. Get off my live. Oh my God. Yes. So, Wednesdays. So I pray we do Wives Who Win Wednesday every Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. Every Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. And then, of course, the wife chat. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm on Periscope at 7 a.m. And we're just doing a check-in. My last one we did Friday, we talked about, did I talk about talk less and do more Friday? Did I talk about that Friday? So if you're on Periscope, you can go check that one out. I can't remember if that was Thursday or Friday. So anyway, yeah, it's supposed to be 7 minutes, but typically I'm on for about 15, 20 minutes because I love to talk. I love to share. I love to build and encourage and uplift. So that my 7 minutes normally go way longer. Just like my hour now is going way longer because I'm just chatting. So yeah. But I'm getting off now because I'm going to call my friend and see if we're going to get these oysters so I can be home and do what I need to do for tomorrow. Okay? All right. See ya. See ya, see ya, see ya. See you later. And remember to share. All right.